Hi, my name is Ron Dorn, and I'm here to present to you the basics of the GPH 111 online class. I've been a professor at ASU since 1988. I love physical geography. My background here is at South Mountain in the Phoenix area, and I'd like to welcome you to this class. I hope to make the presentation brief, but explain the basics of the syllabus so you can move on and enjoy the class. All right, so here's the basic presentation where my main focus is that I want you to have fun with this class. Science should be interesting. It shouldn't be horrific. And shame on me if you don't come out of this class having a fantastic time and learning a heck of a lot. Most people take physical geography because they need a lab science to graduate. And so if you're looking for this requirement, a lab science class needs to be combined with GPH 112, which is the one credit lab. We used to combine everything together, but some students have already had the lecture and they just need the lab. So you can take them together, or you can take this class first, followed later by GPH 112. We know that most students do take it together, although about 20% take it separately, and there's no impact on your grade. They're two separate classes. It's just good to have some knowledge of physical geography before you try the lab, because the lab is doing science. There's two different Canvas sites. There's the Canvas site for our class where you access this lecture, and then there's another Canvas site with a separate presentation for GPH 112. There are no purchases required for this class. There's no textbooks to buy. All the readings are links, either hyperlinks or PDF files, and you can access the lectures and the readings from the Welcome and Start module by clicking here for all lecture readings, list of quizzes, and lab practicals. There are purchases required for the 112 class, but that's explained for that class. So once you click on the link for lectures, readings, and related topics, you're seeing the class is broken down into different units. Start with Unit 1. I need to be upfront with you that the quizzes that I make up that you take are based upon the lecture presentations. The purpose of the readings is because some people like to get the information twice. Also, some people learn better by reading. So the quiz material I make up based on my lectures, but the reading materials you see in these links provide the same information. You'll also see a column for lab practicals that are the best connection to the lecture and readings topics. I'll explain more about the lab practicals and how they are a little bit disconnected because they're much more focused, but I'll explain that later. A little bit about me. I'm a geomorphologist, which means I study Earth's landforms. I also work on climate change issues and some biogeography. Basically, I'm an all-around physical geographer, but with a focus on landforms. And I'm obsessed with being outside. I mountain bike pretty much every day. I hike. I love camping. It's the reason why I got into physical geography, because I didn't want to be chained to a desk. I need to be outside for my own happiness. And I love to take students on field trips, but that's not this class. I have a quiz that you do not have to take. It's just getting to know you. And I like to read your responses. The idea here is that I want to keep an understanding of what's going on with the students in the class, what are their interests. I like to have dialogues with you individually by email or by Zoom appointments, but this survey just allows me to understand a broad perspective and in a specific perspective about you, but only if you care to answer the questions. And I respond with my own answers. Okay, due dates. Due dates are all piled up at the end of the session. Look at the syllabus link on Canvas. That date is when everything must be turned in. This provides a lot of flexibility for students with crazy work schedules, family schedules. Many military are pulled off for blocks of time. I do this, everything open at the beginning of the session and everything closes at the end because it's crazy lives of students. But this is a problem for people who need to set schedules for themselves. So I have a pacing guide in the schedule that you can use, specific dates on when you should finish the quizzes and the lab practicals. You can also set a pacing guide, and I'll explain how, from the number of points you need to earn the grade you want. My number one priority is I don't want anybody to fail the class. I want everybody to get an A+. To do this, you just need to stay on top of things. The number one way to fail the class is people get behind and they don't turn what they need to turn in by the end of the session. My grading system is highly unusual and it tends to confuse students, but it's actually extremely simple. It's point accumulation. Percentages you will see in Canvas, ignore them. Out of points you will see in the Canvas gradebook, I can't turn them off, ignore them. The only thing that matters for your grade is the points that you accumulate. This means that if you get off to a bad start, if you're not grooving on the way I ask quiz questions, if the lab practicals confuse you at first, you can build momentum and know that you're not penalized for a bad assignment or a bad start, except you'll need more time to do other assignments to earn the points. How do you earn the points? Well, there are quizzes, there are lab practicals, which are applications of the knowledge you learned in the lecture and that you displayed basic understanding of in the quizzes. And then there are culminating assessments that allow you to wrap the class up at the end. Each one of these is in reality optional, but I strongly recommend that you first work on the quizzes and lectures. A good strategy is for you to do all the quizzes and lectures at first, so you have a broad scope of the class. Then you work on the lab practicals. You pick the ones that interest you the most. You start with perhaps the easier ones, at least easier to you, because what may be easy for you may not be easier for somebody else. And then if you need more points at the end, or if you're interested in the assignments, you can earn more points in the culminating assessments. All points are equal. All points add up. And it means that there are lots of assignments that are ones that you probably won't need to earn the A+. So there's no penalty for not doing an assignment. The culminating assessments are one of two different types. Some students actually like to write essays. They don't like objective questions. And so I give you the chance to watch lectures on the natural regions of the earth, take notes, and then do a long essay assignment that I explained to you in Canvas. But the idea here is that you are taking copious notes and that you basically give a broad brush of the physical geography of either the rainforest, the deserts, or the tundra. It's an optional. You don't have to do it, but many students like to bring the class together that way. There's a second sort of optional culminating assessments, and that's when you purchase a geovisualization for $15 of the Big Island of Hawaii. This geovisualization is used for the GPH 112 lab. And so if you actually purchase the geovisualization, you don't have to purchase it twice. I also use it for the 211 geomorphology class. It's a very powerful way to learn science by interacting with data. So what you do is you combine a virtual trip to the Big Island via Google Street Views, the theory you learn in class about rain shadows and orographic effects with the data you extract from the geovisualization. It's a unity game and you hop around like an avatar. So it's a different culminating experience that you'll have to check out on your own if you want to, but it's optional. The grade book is very confusing for students, and there's really only one thing you need to focus on: the total number of points. Keep your point total, and when you reach 112, I guarantee you, you have an A+. I recommend that you actually watch the lectures and take the quizzes all the way straight through. Finish them all before you try the lab practicals. You can't go back and forth. You can learn material about how science works called patternicity, and then you can do the lab practical. That works with many students. It's up to you how to approach it. But if you're overwhelmed, I think you can just, with the number of assignments you see, just start on the quizzes, watch the lectures, do the quizzes, watch the lectures, do the quizzes, and you'll get momentum and you'll feel much more under control. You'll see stuff like this about percent scores for lab practicals or percent scores for quizzes or out of points. Can you just ignore all that stuff? Pretty please. I really don't like getting emails from students asking me about them because it means that they didn't watch this presentation and they didn't get my passion that I can't turn this stuff off in Canvas. Only focus on the points, focus on having fun. Don't worry about your grade. Wrong answers won't hurt your grade. Sadly, there's 2 or 3 students every session that think that they've finished with the class if they finished 111, or they think they finished with the class if they've done the lab practicals for GPH 111, they've done the labs for 112. These are 2 separate classes. ABOR, the Arizona Board of Regents, requires that there's a lab, and we run the lab in a certain way. You have to complete both classes if you're taking both classes. They cannot be mixed together. So let me explain how you can get into the flow of the class. You watch the lectures, and then you take the quiz. I have 2 strategies that I'm trying to explain again. You can go through all the lectures and the quizzes, or you can go laterally, where you watch the lecture, take the quiz, and then you do the lab practical. See what works best for you. The quizzes are not timed, but you don't get 2 chances at them. I want you to gain confidence in taking multiple choice tests where there's not a penalty for getting things wrong. So I need you to finish once you start, because that's the way a lot of tests work. But in these quizzes, you're not penalized for getting something wrong. You can earn the points in other ways later. So please take advantage of the chance to build your confidence by taking notes in the lectures, understand the material, and gradually do better and better on the quizzes as the semester rolls on. The lab practicals are slightly different. There's no timer, but you can stop and resume. The intent is that you can stop, take screenshots of what you're working on, and email me to ask questions. But before you can do any of this, you have to take the required syllabus quiz. You need to read the syllabus, and you need to get 100% on the syllabus quiz. I used to not do a syllabus quiz, but too many students just didn't read the syllabus, didn't understand the rules, and didn't even watch this presentation to get an overview of the syllabus. So the syllabus quiz will be super easy. It'll have things like, when you watch the lectures, you are sometimes asked for a logon and a password, GPH 111 Gaia. But when I'm asked by a student, what's this logon and password? I tried my Azurite ID, it didn't work. I know that you didn't see this presentation. Another example of a question is, I don't hear the audio, or the Adobe Presenter isn't playing. What you should do, well, you hit refresh a few times. If the sound doesn't play on the presentation, then you jump to the second slide and you hit refresh and let it play. You basically have to kick it a few times because often your browser doesn't read lines of code correctly. So finish the syllabus quiz. I want to stress that I encourage you to ask questions. There are 2 sorts of questions. One where what you're asking other students would benefit from. Please use the discussion board for those. The second sort of questions are about your grade. For your grade, you have to email me from your ASU email account, not Gmail or not Yahoo. I can only deal with grade issues from your email account if it's ASU. It's secure, it's for your protection, and that way it's confidential between you and me. So Unit 1 is an overview about how science works and Earth as a system. This class is the natural world as a whole. Physical geography doesn't pull apart the atmosphere from the geology, from the biology. Everything works together. At least that's at the start and at the end. But in Unit 2, I have to provide you basic background of Earth materials and how mountains are built. In Unit 3, we rip apart the mountains by landform processes called geomorphology to create landscapes. In Unit 4, you learn the basics of the Earth's climate system. In Unit 5, you learn about the weather. And in the optional culminating assessment, you tie it all together. Lab practicals. Lab practicals are a single piece. They're a tiny aspect of the broad lecture, and it focuses on you applying knowledge to a particular issue. You can't prepare for them. You access them via Canvas. There's no PDF file. There's no audiovisual presentation. You have to have finished the lecture first. And I'd like you to try to finish them in one sitting, but you don't have to. You can stop and resume, but just try and practice finishing them in one sitting. But if you get confused, stop, take a screenshot, ask me a question. There are lots and lots of lab practicals. You don't have to do them all. Pick and choose the ones that are interesting. If you read it and you're confused, stop, jump to another one, or ask me for help. Some of them are funky. I like to use video clips a lot and have you interpret science questions on them. For example, Olaf singing about loving the summer, you can kind of see that he's not melting, but he's actually going directly from ice to water vapor, and that's called sublimation. There's no timer in the lab practicals, so it means you can stop, take a screenshot like this, send it to me if you're confused, and you can think about it and you can go back to it. So there are often a lot of instructions and a lot of readings. Take your time, prepare for the lab practical, learn some information. Often I ask that you download Google Earth to do some of the lab practicals because you'll need to see the eye altitude, like this one in the lower right-hand corner. You can try it on a desktop Google Earth, but I like to ask students to download Google Earth Pro. It's free, and that's the way I wrote the questions for you to use Google Earth Pro. But if a different program works for you, that's fine. I suggest that when you see links in a lab practical, like take a virtual hike up to the top of Payastoa Peak, that you open them in a new window or a new tab. Canvas doesn't like that, but I think that's the best way to go. Appealing questions. Multiple choice questions can be read and interpreted differently. The advantage of a multiple choice questions is that I can allow a lot of students into this class. The disadvantage is what happens if you interpret it differently and you think that your answer was the best answer. Please don't email me and say, oh, I think I'm right. I have a procedure. You need to take a screenshot of the question, take a screenshot of the information you used to answer that question, send them to me. Please don't send me a picture from your phone of the screen. You need to learn how to use the operating system. Just Google taking a screenshot from your computer. So you send the screenshot, you write a paragraph on why you think you're correct, why your selection was the best. And that means you have to explain why the other choices are not as good as the one you did, and then email me. Have a subject line that indicates you're appealing, the assignment you took, and the class you're in, because I teach multiple classes, and I can't read your mind if you're talking about an assignment. And just email it to me, and I love it when students appeal. Again, I love it when students ask questions. The discussion board is best, but email is fine too. I want to engage with you. Figuring your grade again. I'm going to emphasize again that accumulating points are all that matters. not the percentages. This means that you should relax because incorrect answers won't hurt your grade. I don't use a percentage. I just use the accumulating points. And realize you can always earn more points at the end by taking the essay test or doing the geovisualization culminating assignment. They'll take time, but earning points should not be a problem for you. You should be able to earn an A+ if you want to. You may have to dig for it. You may have to spend time. You may have to actually learn, but I'm really hoping that this class is fun and that I'm taking away the panic about your grade through this presentation. If this class isn't fun, please let me know and I'll do my best to fix what wasn't fun about it. I want you to really enjoy science and enjoy physical geography because it will allow you to enrich your world. If you get the idea that I'm enthusiastic about this class, I am. Sorry for about going on for so long, but at the end, I just want you to relax and have fun and earn a great grade. But don't procrastinate. You can finish the class early, and that's often best. Have fun.